Welcome to this just-in-time resource on preparing to serve youth upon returning to school. This resource is made possible through funding from the CARES Act. My name is Adam Renteria. I am a training manager with the Responsive Integrated Health Solutions Program at the Academy for Professional Excellence, a project of the School of Social Work at San Diego State University. I am joined today by my guest, Mara Madrigal-Weiss, Director with San Diego County Office of Education. Thank you for being here, Mara. Just want to ask you a couple of quick questions about how we can best support our providers as they begin to prepare to serve youth that are returning to school. So given the length of school closures and gathering bans due to COVID-19, this worldwide pandemic, what needs are being identified to best support youth and families to prepare to come back to school?
Great. Thank you so much, Adam. First, thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time and the consideration to talk about what's going on in our schools and what do we need to get ready for. So some of the things that we've seen since the shutdown in March, which is about the majority of our districts went down in March, and is just the distancing that it did. For many of our students, some of their parents still working, some parents they're at home. It was not being able to connect with their own friends and their peer groups. So we've seen much isolation going on with our students. We've also seen that many of our parents have struggled with their own needs, employment, depression, anxiety, their own mental health needs. And so this is really starting to, what we've seen is that many of our students are holding back additional issues that they might be having so as not to tax the family further. So there's this added responsibility to our youth right now. And so we want to be really thoughtful about that. Building rapport in this, I think just first admitting that this is like nothing we've seen, nothing our youth have seen before, and just kind of walking through that, what are you feeling, what are you seeing, what are you sensing, I think is important because again, like I've said, many of our youth are really holding back because they don't want to add the stressors. Other things that we've seen is the educators themselves. So there's this assumption that you're a teacher, you're an administrator, get online and start teaching. Well, they're also parents and mentors and neighbors and daughters and sons. And so it's important to acknowledge that and to acknowledge that this is weighing on the whole school community. It's not just the students, it's not just the staff, and it's not just the parents, but really the entire school community. So what would be important to do is make sure that we're checking in at every level. So as we work with our schools, reaching out to the school administrator, letting them know that you're here to support the entire school community. And I don't mean like individual referrals. I just mean as a supportive person in that school community. That's what we need most. We need the sense of we're all in this together, and together we will guide ourselves through it. So I think that's really important to keep in mind.
That's a really important point about connecting with the school community and creating that rapport. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that might look like in terms of our providers providing support to the school community?
Absolutely, thank you. I would really recommend or suggest or encourage that when we're talking with the school community, we're serving as a resource to them. So for example, our schools are still having staff meetings, asking maybe to be a part of the staff meeting too. Here I am, this is who I am, this is what I do. Also offering 10 minutes during a staff meeting to talk about wellness. What does wellness look like? Some strategies so that you really start to form part of that fabric of that school community and not just the outside provider, the person that we send referrals to or the other than. Really, it would be so important to become part of that fabric. And that is something that administrators would absolutely welcome because that's not the role of the administrator or even the teachers. That's not what they have their training in. So to have somebody say, here I am to support and be a resource to you would be absolutely phenomenal. The other thing is doing the same with our parents. We have parent meetings, we have parent nights. We're going to continue to have these meetings, whether virtually or in person, offering to share strategies with parents on how to engage their students, how to check in with their students, signs that there might be things to be concerned about, and then what are some resources that they can tap into. So again, really providing that partnership, not just with the school staff, but also with the parents. And again, I can't speak more highly about this. When we look at schools, they really should be that whole school community. So it can't just be about the whole child. It has to be about that whole school community.
Those are really important points for providers who are looking to break into the school community in terms of becoming a part of that fabric. What are some tips for how they should be connecting, who they should be connecting with? You mentioned several levels.
Absolutely. So I would start with the administrator. That's usually who knows who plays what role, and then look to see if there's any student support services staff. That could be a school counselor, a school psychologist, school social workers. If the schools, so for example, in elementary, we might not have counselors or school social workers, but usually the person who takes attendance knows what's going on with the family. Absolutely know the stories. That's the confidant for that community. School secretaries also know what's going on, who might need additional supports and services. And then, of course, like I said, talking to that school administrator, they could really help facilitate those, warm knock on the door kind of, here's our partner, and this is what they do. So I would start there. But remember, again, all those people that have most contact with families, the school secretary, your attendance clerk, your nurse, phenomenal resource. They tend to know everything that's going on in that school community, even with the staff. So I definitely check in with them.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Mara. I really appreciate you giving us your time today to share some of these important considerations and help prepare our provider community for really engaging with the school community around preparing for this return to schools. And let's hope it's sooner than later.
Let's hope so. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you. Appreciate it.